Do you love all things spooky, a little haunted, and full of mystical intrigue? Would you like expert insights from a professional psychic medium while connecting with an open-hearted community that gets you? Join the Haunted Road Trip Show Patreon at www.hauntedroadtripshow.com/Patreon and unlock deeper dives into the supernatural, exclusive discussions, and a place to share your own eerie experiences. Plus, patrons get special discounts on classes, behind-the-scenes content, and more to die for. Laughter is guaranteed, even the dead laugh. In paranormal history, it's dying to be heard.
Welcome to the Haunted Road Trip Show, where we bring you powerful conversations, insights, and exciting site investigations that reveal the paranormal world in a way you've never seen before. Prepare to have your thirst for curiosity satisfied.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, ghouls and ghouls out there. Welcome to another edition of Haunted Road Trip Shows. Yes. And today, I have somebody that I was so delighted said yes, that she would come on the show. Sometimes inviting people here is like, oh my God, will you come to my party? And you're hoping that the people will accept your invite to your ball and everything. I had Pam Sears here. And not only has she been a practicing metaphysician for well over 30 years, she is a best-selling author of multiple kids' books. She has quite the following on TikTok. So if you're over there on the old tickety-tock, give her a follow. The link is in the notes for her. And I am just so excited. Hi, Pam. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Yes, we had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we managed to get through it. Yes, on here. So first off, thank you for coming on. I get so excited to have a really good, juicy variety of guests for the audience to be able to hear their experiences and know where they're coming from. Now, what I thought was really interesting about you was you've been doing this for 30 years.
Yeah.
You've been doing this longer than some of us have been alive.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it definitely is. So tell me about what was your childhood like? Like, were you really aware of things back then? Were you kind of like, that's strange? What was it like?
I didn't think anything strange about it. I knew that people were talking to me all the time. I didn't find it odd. I know that, my family would say, she's always talking to herself, or she's, always chattering. My mom would say, what are you talking about? And I said, well, I'm talking to my friends. I didn't think anything of it. It was normal to me. So could I have said what it was? No, I was so young. I didn't even understand spirit guides, loved ones. I really had no concept of that.
Wow. And were your parents supportive of it, or were they like, Pam's just being a kid?
They just thought I was a different child. They just, they called me, I talk a lot. I never shut up. So they didn't really put it as to anything in particular other than, well, she's kind of an odd child, but oh well.
That's interesting. Yeah, I used to talk constantly as a kid. I had a teacher in high school who used to call me Mallory from an old show called Family Ties. That character on the show talked all the time, and she would always look at me and go, Mallory.
Yeah.
Well, we were just born to communicate, Pam. I think so. They did not realize our talent and our skills at that point, right?
Correct.
They weren't hip to it on there. So were you an only child, or did you have siblings?
No, there were 5 of us, And, in all honesty, I came from a very violent home life, and it was very traumatic. And I think that's why I felt, kind of safe with my peeps that were talking to me. But as things progressed and became more violent as I got older, there was a part of me that just tried to like shut everybody in the whole world out. Okay. And I didn't want to know anything. I didn't want to hear anything, still not knowing what those voices were. And I could shut out a lot of people in my life, but I could never really shut the voices out. And I just began to realize as I was getting older and older, and actually when I was in my 30s is when I began to like, okay, that's okay. I'm not crazy. We're going to just open this up. Okay. And I always knew, I just thought to myself, well, it's okay. You're just, you're talking to yourself and somebody's helping you answer. Just trust. Just trust.
Wow.
But my 30s is when I really began to say, okay, let's explore this. Let's open this up, when I had real small children myself.
Yeah. Wow. So spirit stepped in and your abilities helped you to basically survive a very traumatic childhood.
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
You hear that story a lot.
I've noticed that a lot of people who do this type of work, have a story to tell. Yeah.
Yes. Oftentimes I will get clients or people coming to me and they'll tell me, what happened to them as a kid. They were hearing things or seeing things or knowing things. And I'll ask them, well, did you grow up in a peaceful household, or did you grow up in a household where you had to be, extremely hyper vigilant? And they were like, oh, hyper vigilant,
Yeah.
Mom was this and dad was this and this was going on over here and all this, chaos and disorder.
And, so the reason I was trying to block things out is because, half the time I didn't realize that what I was feeling wasn't even mine. It didn't belong to me. And so that's one of the reasons, even now I just say shields up. Cause as a kid, I just thought I'm going crazy here, because I'm having all these emotions and I don't know where they're coming from.
Wow. See, I was a kid, had all these emotions and I didn't know what they were. I was self-blamed. I was the person that I would automatically I was the problem.
Right. I understand. I was the same way. Yeah.
Oh, yes. But were you able to, now I want to kind of preface it for those people who are out there, because when they hear something like one of us saying we heard voices, they might interpret that as something else. These voices were helpful. These voices were comforting, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I want to make that distinction very
absolutely. I was never, I just thought it was another aspect of me, I just thought it's another aspect of me. And, even if I was just talking to myself, no big deal. I trusted it. It was very helpful. It was always accurate. Always.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I've been studying the theory, and maybe you've heard this or not, that spirit guides are simply another archetype of ourselves appearing to us in another energy form.
Some people have that belief system. They do. Yes. Now, think about this. After I learned about my higher self, Dr. Michael Newton wrote that book, Journey of Souls, and he's talking about how some of a percentage of us stays here on Earth in this meat suit, as they call it, and the other percent is on the other side. That's our higher self. So, we all have a higher self. We all have that communication going. So some people would say, do we all have guides? I feel we do. But that higher self, you're talking to yourself. So you're bound to get the correct information because of who you're talking to.
Yes, indeed. Me and a couple of my friends, we love to go to graveyards and do a lot of spirit box work and things like that. And we oftentimes have, our woo-woo talks, right? You get with other woo-woo people and you start talking about all kinds of interesting theories and whatnot. And we started to giggling with ourselves about how, wouldn't it be cool, because our soul stays with us, but maybe part of our spirit here is on earth. And that if we could communicate with the spirit of us in a last lifetime that's still hanging around here, we just went all kinds of like, wouldn't that be cool to like do a paranormal investigation and here you are from a past lifetime, or one of your friends or family from a past.
Yeah, interesting.
Yes, because I've heard those theories before that people, the spirit and the soul are kind of two different energies. And sometimes part of the spirit stays here, residual haunt and or whatnot.
Right.
Soul goes to spirit world. I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about our field, Pam, is that it allows people to be creative and open and have like open talk and dialogue without having to be like, that's wrong, that's right, this has to be that, and that has to be that.
Right.
Because when it comes down to it, I like the expansiveness of it. Because that's how you develop your abilities. I tell my students all the time, be curious.
Yes.
And just say, what else is out there, right?
Right. Be open. I've always been very, very open. Some of my belief systems might be a little out there compared to some people, but then again, I'm always, like you said, I'm always curious. Like, well, what if?
I don't know. It's fun to play what if, because I tell people all the time, didn't you do that all the time as kids and you believed it? Or at least you believed that it was possible? So it's different, obviously we have facts about certain things now, but it's always fun to go, I could be wrong and this could be another, way out of the problem. But I do believe a lot in talking to our higher selves. Sometimes what I call it is like, talk to yourself that's 1 year older than who you are now.
Cool idea.
And ask them.
Pretty cool concept.
Yeah, so it's just kind of like, I love to be that. So what was it like 30 years ago? Were you out in the field doing like open readings at like events and all kinds of stuff?
What it was is I was in the corporate world and I got fired. And I wasn't happy in the corporate world. I knew I didn't belong there. I knew I was supposed to be doing something else that was more passionate for me, but I wouldn't leave having, I was getting newly divorced, 2 young children, it's about the money and the insurance. And so, no, I wouldn't leave. But the universe said, well, then we're just going to have to help you. So I got fired. And eventually I got myself into massage college. And I thought that was going to be that was it. That was just the beginning of other things that happened. I remember swimming in the pool and there was nobody there but me because I was there very early. And I said, I don't know what I'm to do now. I'm confused. And then this deep voice has always spoken to me. And the deep voice says massage college. And I stood up in the pool like, who said that? But there was nobody there. So it was the massage college. Then there were other interesting spiritual encounters as a massage therapist that.
Tell us some stories.
So this is an interesting story. I was working for chiropractors as their massage therapist. I hadn't quite heard of the necessary concept of healing energy per se. And somebody had told me, you've been doing this since you were born. You just didn't know it. Because we healers are just the channelers for channeling healing. So I had a very elderly gentleman, pure white hair. And to this day, I still remember his eyes. They were so crystal blue. And I was mesmerized by seeing his eyes. So he was trying to tell me that he had hurt his shoulder, and I had him face up because he was trying to show me where this area hurt. And I said, okay, let me do some work with that. And he said something to me and he goes, let's try something different today. And I was like, Lord, because I'm the massage therapist. How would you be telling me how to do my work? And we were bantering back and forth. And you know, my guide said, just do it. Just listen and do it. And I'm like, okay. So what he said to me was, I want you to place your hand above this area here. I want you to feel for discrepancies and hot and cold and all that stuff. And I thought, okay, this is wacko, but I'm going to do it, right? So I did feel a discrepancy in the area where he hurt himself. And then he said, now I want you to move that and move it, you know, so that it's like out. And I'm like, I don't know what you're saying, but whatever. And I began to do that. And then as I put my hand back over the area, it was smoothed out. There was no more of that blockage, if you will. And I remember saying to him, who are you and where did you come from? And he said something to me that I'll never forget. He said, I'm just a traveler. And I'm here to tell you that it's time to do your work. So that was my introduction to energy healing. And, you know, from there, I went to therapeutic touch and I learned some things. And I just had no idea that that was the next level of my journey. So I believe universe puts people, or you call them angels. Like he said, I'm a traveler. And I do believe there are people, spirits who travel. Mm-hmm. And they assist people on their journey. And I was like, wow. And after that, I began to do a whole different form of massage. And then I began to hear, as I was working with people being in their energy field, I began to hear messages. I didn't know at that time exactly what was happening, but it ended up being mediumship, giving messages from loved ones while I was doing the massage work. So that happened for a while also. I was still like, I was used to just doing the card readings, one-on-one, you know, not having anything to do with massage, but it makes a whole lot of sense.
Yes. Wow.
So I did that for a very long time. I had one particular time, this is really a cool story. I had another lady, another elderly lady come in for massage. And she was face down this time. And she said to me, there's someone else in the room. And I thought, okay, like I have somebody kind of not with it here. And I said, well, honey, there's nobody in the room. She goes, oh no, there's somebody in the room. And she said, he's telling me that when you do your healing work, he works with you and he helps you. She described him looking like, you know, like the Pope with one of those, it was like a cardinal. He had the red and the red cap. And I thought to myself, I didn't say anything to her. And I said, this is crazy. And she said to me, he just said, she doesn't believe you. Tell her what happened yesterday. And she says, so he said yesterday, this person gave you this little gift and it was a little snow globe and it had an angel in the snow globe and the angel had a bird in its palm. And you were so excited and you took it home and you put it on your bookshelf on the right-hand side on this wall. And that's exactly what happened. And I thought that woman shouldn't know anything about what happened yesterday. She was a new client. Okay. So then she goes, now do you believe me that there's someone here helping you? And I did. I said, yes. still kind of like, whatever. I don't know why me, why this is happening, but we have helpers. When we're doing our healing work, we have helpers because we're not the healers.
No, we are not. We're just merely the vessel.
So that was cool. It's like whenever you're ready for the next level of what you're doing, Spirit provides that help.
Wow. Do you think, looking back, do you think that gentleman might have been your guide, one of your guides?
Yes. Yes, I do. And I got his name, and his name was Joshua. He wasn't the guide that I was born with, but he's does healing work. And so it makes sense that he comes in and out when I do my healing work. And so, yeah, sometimes we get new guides, and we get guides that pop in and out depending on how they're needed. And so, yes, absolutely, he was a guide.
Wow. That to me is like the holy grail of experiences with guides, that they physically manifest and come and like help you out. You might not know you're probably not going to know it's them. Right.
But that woman's like, well, I didn't mean to freak you out, but I do see and hear things, And I'm like, obviously she did. But, like I said, I didn't believe her until, he helped me to believe. Somebody once said to me, that's interesting. How did you know exactly where to put your hand at that given moment? And I'm like, I don't know. I just do what I do. I don't think about it. And so that's my helpers. That's, it's like a telepathy thing. And I don't even realize that I'm being guided where to put hands, what to say, what to do. Kind of cool.
It is very cool when people just kind of let their mind relax and just be open to receive without going who, what, when, where, how, why all the time. Yeah. And just kind of go, all right, go with it. Like you'll see, like I tell people a lot, like watch a painter or do something to hypnotic, whether it's sewing or yarn, or if you're painting or coloring or cleaning or watching, see how your mind starts to just, it just wanders. And then all of a sudden these epiphanies and voices, nice voices come in to give you all kinds of little, what I like to call golden little drop-in nuggets.
Yes, I agree.
And even those messages from loved ones, I tell people all the time, if you want to talk to your loved one, just do something that's monotonous and a little hypnotic to you. And then see what comes through. But I think that is absolute. I love that message to let people know that if you are kind of, waffling on a decision, or you're not really sure, like, Spirit will go a long Texas mile again and again and again to keep getting your attention. And I always tell people, if you don't know what your passion is, you don't know what's going on or where to go next, just simply ask for clarity.
True. Ask for clarity, but then get out of the way of how it comes.
That's what and that's what I tell people about signs from their loved ones. I said, you can ask and things like that, and they'll try to do their best, but sometimes they give you something else. Sometimes you want that blue jay on your deck in the morning at 6:02 a.m. with your first cup of coffee, and that's not the way it happens. Right. That blue jay might come, right before you're going to bed and peck on the window.
Yeah, correct.
But always be open to it. And so that just kind of led you down a further journey of like, okay, let me see, I got to see what else is going on here.
Yes.
Because I could imagine you're a really good tarot reader. I could look at you and go, I wonder if she reads good tarot.
I was never guided to the tarot deck. I tried, I got one, I tried, but it just didn't resonate with me. And I don't have a scientific mind. I mean, I think because there's a lot of science to tarot, but I ended up having an awful lot of oracle decks, and I worked with them even more so. I mean, I don't need them because they're just a tool. But what I like to, if I do a personal session for somebody, I like to pull cards before and send them to them so that they have something physical that they can go back and read and look at. I don't need them. Okay. It's for them. And most of the people, like, you have no idea. I'll send, after a session, I had one this morning, and I sent the cards, and she came back and said, I noticed something in the corner, and there was this little bird. And so, there are things that people can pick up from that maybe I didn't notice. Okay. So it's for them, not us.
It really is. And even, I just tell people, walk away from your reading and come back to it in 2 weeks and re-listen and see.
Yeah.
And see how that makes utter sense to you. Because, I mean, you're big, loud, and proud out there, Pam. You've got quite a following on TikTok, and you're an author of some children's books.
I have one children's book and then 2 other books that I wrote. I'm so proud to be an author anyway. And I have some stories in regards to one of my inspirational poetry books, but this is my pride and joy. Was just had a year anniversary in April.
Yay.
So I wrote this book for my very own grandson, Xander. He's the character. I chose the title No No Nap, although he meets his spirit guides. But there's a story here. When he doesn't want to take a nap, he throws a temper tantrum. Okay. And while he's in timeout for the temper tantrum, his spirit guides show up, and they help him understand, first of all, why naps are important and how to say sorry to mom and dad. So I hired an illustrator. She did beautiful work.
Yes.
I wanted all the cultures represented. So his main 2 guides are Liam and Lexi. Okay. Children's books should always have a problem to solve. Okay. And I wanted, I wished I had this book when I was little, so that, our little ones see, hear, and know spirit. Okay.
Nice.
And so Xander's getting help from his spirit guides. Now, in the back of the book, I wrote this section for parents so that parents can understand when our little ones come up and they say stuff, they actually are seeing and hearing. And for parents to stay open and communicate with the child. What do you see? Who are they? They all see our loved ones that have passed over. All of those little ones, they're still open. And I've donated it to libraries and daycares, and I'm trying to reach as many children and parents. And it's like, I knew I was going to write a 3rd book, but I had no idea this one was coming. Interesting, huh?
Wow.
So, and the other 2, I'll tell a quick story about my Whispers. The Whispers of the White Dove is my inspirational poetry. Okay. The second book, Heart of the White Dove, is there. I was a hospice worker for 9 years. So there's hospice stories. There was the cancer journey. I don't claim it. That story's in there. Some spiritual short stories and a few poems. But what happened and how I finally published, I'd had all of my poetry for years and years. I thought to myself, well, one of these days I might publish. I don't know, but one of the things that helped me understand to publish was in the old MySpace days, you could post all kinds of things. I was afraid to do it, but I thought, I'm going to post one of my poems. And this is before I published. I'm going to post one of my poems on there. Nobody really cares about my poems but me, but I'm going to post it anyway. feeling that guidance. The guides are like, just do this. So the next morning when I woke up and checked my MySpace, there was a young kid from New York who had been in the streets in gangs.
Oh.
And he said to me, I don't know how I found your poem, but I found your poem and I read it because I was going to unalive myself. But when I found the poem, I changed my mind, and I want you to know that you helped me without even realizing it. I was stunned. And then I thought to myself, people kept saying, how do you know other people don't need your words? How do you know? Okay. So I realized, the poems that I have written and the stories that I have written, they don't come from me anyway. It's all channeled. It's all channeled.
Yeah. My first sponsor used to say that to me a lot about don't deny somebody else being of service to you, or don't let somebody else being of service, or you don't know how you could be of service to somebody else. Don't rob them of that.
Correct. Go figure.
Another one of those, just listen and follow direct. I like to tell everybody, it's all about God, good orderly direction.
Well, and I had, I was in the metaphysical part of the old MSN and lots of spiritual chat rooms and stuff. And I had met somebody that I felt was a colleague, a comrade. And he said something to me, and he said, you have always done what Spirit asked you to do, even if you didn't know you were doing it, even if it was difficult. And I thought,
since day one, though.
Gosh.
Wow. Yeah, you've been doing that since day one.
Yeah. It took somebody else to point that out to me that I'd been doing this since day one. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was more on the edge of afraid I was going to get in trouble. Type of.
The violent household I came from, everybody got in trouble. So,
we all have to work through those limiting beliefs. So I have a question for you. How do you feel about haunted restaurants? Have you ever been to one?
I'm the type of person that I don't believe in ghosts and
right.
We have, in my opinion, we have residual energy that can remain, and so I've had some experiences in regards to that, energy wise, because we all have residual energy. It could be somebody sitting next to me and they get up and they're leaving residual energy. So I had an experience. I was in Jerome, which is a very interesting place in Arizona.
That's not Old West Town. That's
that has a lot of, there's a lot of paranormal shows, I guess, that go there and such. And I was at the there were two stories. I was at the top story of this restaurant called the Haunted Hamburger, and having lunch with a friend, and I felt the presence of someone. And of course, in my mind's eye, there was this woman there, dressed like you would be way back in, the 1900s. She had her hair pulled up in a bun. She was very scowly, very unhappy person. Okay. And I thought, okay, hello. And I didn't think much of it. And later on, when the waitress came back, I said, I do experience certain things. And she goes, oh, yeah, you saw her, did you? And I'm like, well, there was an experience of someone. And she said that person owned this was a boarding house, and she owned the boarding house. And she was always very mad, mean. She likes to hang out in the top floor. And later on, she showed me her picture, and that's the woman that I saw. Okay.
Wow.
I don't say haunting or that, but I do believe I was experiencing some residual energy from her.
Wow. I have to bring it up because I found this interesting story about a very old haunted speakeasy restaurant. You ever heard of this place? It's called the Moss Distillery.
No,
So it is high up in the cliffs in California, and it's somewhere near like the Hollywood, LA area, because it was built in 1927. And a lot of the old silent film stars and politicians went there during Prohibition, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their fun on, they had to have somewhere to have their illicit activities and behaviors and nefariousness. And apparently it was a hotspot for Canadian rum runners. Say that like 5 times fast.
Okay.
And so the story goes that it was a hopping place, a lot of activity. And they said because Frank, the owner, was so connected with politicians, that's why he never got raided by the government, because so many of them went there to drink, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it goes. So the story is that there was a woman named Kate. And Kate was obviously in an unhappy marriage. And she meets a fellow patriot there. And while we don't have to, be psychic to color in the lines what happened next, right? They started torrid love affair, and one night, her and her lover are walking on the beach below the establishment, and the story goes that the jealous husband had found out and attacked them. And Kate succumbed to her injuries, but the lover survived. And witnesses report now that they see Kate. They call her the Lady in Blue. And they see her all over the property. And that she is one of the spirits responsible for everything from electronic malfunctions to jewelry gone missing to phones ringing and nobody's on the other line to mysterious noises all around there.
Interesting.
Very interesting, considering when I was reading the story, I was like, why is Kate getting so much attention? Because there's at least... Reading this, I'm like, she's not the only one there.
Right.
There's at least a handful of other people who probably met their demise there or near there.
Correct.
Do you think that most of that activity, do you think it's mostly residual?
Yes, I do. I really do. I'm of the opinion that like everyone crosses over. There's no one's stuck. But like if there is places that have had a lot of violence, a lot of that trauma, right. I think more residual energy may still be there. It's almost like playing on a loop, if that makes it's a loop and it's a loop. And so I feel that there is a lot of residual energy. I can go into places and I can pick up energies and senses. And like I said, being at that haunted hamburger place, was that a ghost of her? In my opinion, no, but there was some residual energy. Right. And, I picked up on it. And so I think, in my opinion, I think most of it is residual energy. Now, can spirits come and go wherever they want? Of course. I mean, our loved ones visit us all the time.
Yes.
So, are they residual energy? The spirit world is not very far from where we are, in my opinion. And so, and most people, we all have the ability. We all have the ability to hear spirit, to feel spirit, to know that our loved ones are there and around us. I think sometimes in our grief, we don't sit quiet enough to let it happen.
Oh no, I completely agree with you about the grief. Just allow it, allow your grief. I tell people all the time, I'm like, get your first, second, and third wave of initial grief gone.
Yes.
Then
Yeah.
go to a qualified, reputable, vetted medium that you trust if indeed you want messages.
Right. Now, I'm sure with you doing the work that I do, I mean, can they come through instantly? Absolutely. Does that happen? A few times. I had a session when I had a lady that was trying to connect with her husband. Okay. And he did pop in, we had already made this appointment like a month before. Apparently her brother had passed. She didn't say anything. And of course I didn't know, but he came through and he had just passed that week. So they can come through right away. And I think she was in a place where she was receptive to that happening. But nobody, I mean, I didn't know. And, she wasn't about to say anything. She's hoping that my husband comes through, but then her brother also showed up. So I love it when that happens. Yeah.
I do. Spirit is infinite. Don't put spirit in a box, people. Okay. You want to play a little game?
Sure.
Okay. I love to play this game. It's called Book It or Book It. So what we're going to do, Pam, is we're going to, through the magic of technology, we're going to go to my favorite Instagram page called Cheap Old Houses. Because who doesn't like a cheap old house, right?
Okay.
Man. And then we're going to spy on these houses, go inside of them through the listings. We're just going to look around and talk about what we see, what we feel. And then at the end, we'll decide, do we want to book a night there or do we want to book it the hell out of there?
Oh, I gotcha.
So, ladies' choice, I'm going to give you a choice. Would you prefer to go to Ohio, Illinois, West Virginia, or Maine first?
Let's go to Maine.
We're going to go to Maine. All right. Let's do that through the
Get my little glasses on here. Not that I need them, but
got to get the glasses on. All right. Hold on 1 second. Well, it does the magic of technology. There we go. Yay. Okay. And, oh no. And we are going to go to, let's see. We're going to go to Maine. I think that one. I think that was the main one. Yep. Okay. Let me see this. Can you see this house?
I can.
Okay, good. So I'm going to read the listing for everybody. We are in Newport, Maine, everybody. 115,500 for this beautiful 1880s farmhouse. 2-story, multiple wings in section, tall white wooded with green shutters. It looks like the yard's a mess. I'm not even gonna try and lie. The yard, we need some hugs and some loves here at this property. But it's 1,400 square foot finished, 3 bedrooms, only 1 bath, everybody, and an unfinished basement that I will never go into, and a covered front porch. All right, everybody. The gold is in the comments. Always remember that. So, Pam, what do you think of this house? Just taking a look.
Do we know if there's a waterway near them?
We don't. We only see what we're going to go through the listing photos.
Okay. I pick up water nearby. Okay. Like a little pond or a little lake. I don't necessarily know that it's the ocean. I feel that this house had a lot of people in it.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like there's multiple I don't know if it's multiple children, multiple families, but there was a lot of children in there. I feel, like I said, I feel like there's something close by that's of the water. I see somebody near the water. And for the fun of it, I see somebody slipping into the water.
Oh, I can believe that, because this house looks like it was two-term multi-generational. There's a side, I don't know if this is front, side, what this shot is, but woo, we need some lawn care. Lawn care specialists are going to be needed for this. But it's a beautiful 2-story with it looks like a little 3rd-story attic nook.
It's cute.
It is cute.
But there's something nearby with water. I feel like there was a drowning.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, but that somebody slipped. I feel that it was a young male. I feel that the patriarch of the family was abusive.
Oh.
And a drinker. To a large extent, a drinker. Let me.
House. What do you think about the inside of it? Here's
The inside of it. It's interesting. I don't know if it showed or anything, but I almost feel like there's little handprints
everywhere
going, more on the wall here, not on the steps, but more on the wall, little children, little handprints. I feel that they had, it was like I feel like there might have been a tutor that was a part of the house and was in charge of the children. And it's sort of like, when you're going up the steps and you haven't washed your hands, that's kind of what I was thinking. And, the tutor kind of let them run amok when Papa wasn't home. So that's kind of what I'm thinking right there.
I'm thinking somebody had a dog that they locked in somewhere, because this door over here, this beautiful wooden door, is all tore up on the bottom.
Okay, that would make sense. I'm picking up that there was some strictness going on, and so it's like you didn't go down the stairs until it was a certain time.
I could believe that, maybe until the patriarch was gone.
Wow. I get some underlying sadness. Some sadness.
Oh, yeah. This home definitely needs like some pink candles burned in it and some fresh. I'll open the windows, get some fresh air and fresh paint, because that green, whatever that color is on that wall, just isn't working at all.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, look at the tile. Green tile diamond style.
Is that the dining room?
No, this is upstairs. It looks like.
Oh, I see a little table and chairs, and so I'm like, is that the dining room?
Well, I don't get a sense in here, Pam. I wouldn't doubt. I wonder if these were small apartments or something at one point. Somebody was using this house for multi-purposes.
Okay, could be. Okay.
But this is, wood paneling and the green tile floor. I don't know, people. You're confusing me in here. I would. All right. We've got lots of
look at that.
living.
Weird.
It does. It makes you look. When I look at it, I look confused. Like I feel confused here. That's what the main feeling is if I was investigating this house, I would want to really put some light.
Yeah.
Kind of feng shui it easier.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
I'm not a big fan of the tub next to the window.
No, not at all.
Too many horror movies. I'm like, no, that just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't even know what this color is on this wall, but that would be horrible to have to look at. I don't even know what to call that color, Pam. It's some kind of like really brown.
Would it be salmon?
Yeah, it's like this brown salmon though.
Yeah, it's not the kind, because obviously my favorite color is orange, coral, salmon. But yeah, that would be a form of a salmon, but not. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, Lord. Wow. Well, the kitchen definitely needs some work.
There's a lot of busyness in there. Like,
Pam,
it's
I
like
don't think this was the kitchen at one point. I think this was converted into a kitchen.
should be, but there's a lot of activity in that kitchen. I don't know if somebody was like a baker, chef, or something, but there's a lot of activity going on in there. I feel that residual energy.
Wow. So here comes the question, Pam. Are we going to book the night here, or are we going to book it the heck out of here?
I would book the night.
I would book the night too.
Mhm.
I definitely.
would book, yeah.
Oh yes, I would so book the night there. So
Yeah.
I show you one more of them, and I think you're gonna love this. Okay.
Woo!
Yes, we folks, we have transported. Now we are in a Washington courthouse in Ohio, which it is a huge, massive, like 3-story brick home, large front porch with pillars on the front holding it up and large smokestacks. So we know we've got fireplaces all
Yes.
here.
Yes.
Yes, it's on Cheap Old Houses, and it's on sale, you guys, for a cool $75,989. Okay. I know. Listing says that it's a 3-story brick multi-unit, first floor commercial, second and third floor residential. That's interesting because didn't judges used to live in their houses that they had court in? Am
Yes.
I agreeing that? Okay.
Mhm.
I'm going in, Pam. I'm just curious.
Okay.
And especially, did you notice this interesting cornerstone that they have on the outside of the property?
Mm-hmm.
That is fascinating little triangular stone. Okay, we got another outside side view, which this is just a massive property.
It is.
Wow. Okay. Now I see why the listing said good bones, because you can see all the innards here.
Yeah, I'm not real impressed with the color there. No.
No, I'm not impressed with this at all. This white and this gray effect. This is very, and the way they built those floors is very dizzying. They made the house seem bigger than it actually is.
Yeah.
I want to know if that used to be a courtroom, because look at how this is built over here. This almost looks like, I don't know, like a jury box, or somebody would sit up there.
I wouldn't be surprised.
That is just fascinating. I bet you that is. Look at those sliding doors, Pam. Sliding doors are my thing.
I love the other doors. You've got sliding doors, and then you've got the ones that look like they're leading outside.
Yes. That looks like the judge's office at one point, or, offices, depending.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Another fireplace. All the sliding wooden doors inside, inside the wall. I just think that those are just.
I like them, but where's the color? Where's the
I
color?
don't think there is any color here, because this used to be a courthouse.
Okay.
Okay, I don't even know, but there's your blue. You got a little speckle of blue there.
Little speckle.
This is a scary bathroom. I just suddenly feel like everything's gonna fall on me.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a lot of claustrophobia on that. So
Yeah, I do feel like there is a big prankster spirit that lives here in this house, because it's like I want to play pranks and open things up and slam things and kind of give people jolts and little scares from a prankster in here, from like a young man that I feel was, yeah. Stained glass windows. I don't even know what this is. I don't even know what part of the house this is. This is a mystery photo.
yeah. It could be a parlor, like, accepting people or guests or something. Could be a parlor.
I don't know. I think it's above that, what we thought was a jury box or something. That might be it.
Okay.
And another well, this is the same darn fireplace. They're not showing us much in this listing.
Okay.
Oh, and this is the same. Yeah. This must be the upstairs. It's wow. You got at least 4 or 5 different types of spirits and residual energy that's going to replay in this house here, folks. I'm not surprised that this was a courthouse, because that's all I keep hearing in my mind. Law and order, law and order.
Law and order. Yep.
Law and order stays the day on there. Well, Pam?
I'd book it. I
would book it here, too. I would book it here, but we would have to bring plenty of things to keep us warm, so that we wouldn't freeze to death. We'd have to bring wood for the fireplaces.
Yeah,
we're open.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool.
Oh yes, I love being playful with everybody on here, because it helps me go down my favorite rabbit hole, and I get to play my games with everybody else and look at the cool fun houses, and maybe somebody might see them and buy one of them too, because that's the whole point of their website. Well, Pam, I have had a blast with you.
Me too. Thank you for having me.
If you guys want to get in contact with Pam, all her information is always in the notes. So go ahead and connect with her. And she does, you can book a reading with her on her website, I imagine, right?
More on the link tree.
Okay.
Yeah, on the top of my website is my link tree, and all the contact information is up in the link tree. Yeah.
You guys go and book your appointment with Pam. You are absolutely going to fall in love with her, and I cannot sing her praises high enough, everybody. All right. And we're off. And stay tuned for the next episode of Haunted Road Trip Show. But in the meantime, guys, stay curious, stay cool, stay aware. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
This episode of the Haunted Road Trip Show is brought to you by Studio One Vasie Pilates. To claim your free gift now, check the show notes.
Remember to visit our website at hauntedroadtripsshow.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. We look forward to seeing you next time, and remember, paranormal history is dying to be heard.